First contact and deception. The night sky above the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico erupted with an unprecedented celestial light show. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, lead astronomer, stood transfixed as the massive radio telescope dish hummed with activity. Her eyes widened as she processed the data streaming across her monitors. "This can't be right," she muttered, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Carlos, are you seeing this?" Her assistant, bleary-eyed from the late shift, snapped to attention. "Dios mío," he breathed. "Is that?" Elena nodded, her heart racing. "It's a signal, and it's not random noise. This is a message." For decades, humanity had cast its gaze to the stars, wondering if we were alone in the universe. Now, on a warm Caribbean night in 2045, that question was definitively answered. The message, once decrypted, was simple yet profound. "We come in peace. Prepare for contact." News of the alien transmission spread like wildfire across the globe. Governments scrambled to form response teams, religious leaders sought to reconcile their doctrines with this new reality, and ordinary citizens alternated between excitement and fear. As the days passed, more transmissions arrived, each one revealing more about the alien civilization that called itself the Astrian Collective. The Astrians, it seemed, were a highly advanced species that had achieved interstellar travel centuries ago. They described themselves as peaceful explorers, seeking to welcome humanity into a grand cosmic community. Their technology, they claimed, could solve Earth's most pressing problems: climate change, disease, energy scarcity. All they asked in return was the opportunity to establish diplomatic relations and cultural exchange. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself at the center of it all, her expertise in xenolinguistics making her invaluable in decoding the Astrian messages. As she worked tirelessly with an international team of scientists, she couldn't shake a nagging feeling of unease. "It all seems too good to be true," she confided to her colleague, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, during a rare break. "An advanced alien civilization just happens to find us and wants to solve all our problems." Yuki shrugged, dark circles under her eyes betraying her exhaustion. "Maybe we're just lucky. After all the hardships humanity has faced, don't we deserve a break?" Elena wished she could share Yuki's optimism, but as the day of the Astrians' arrival drew near, her apprehension only grew. The chosen landing site was a vast plain in central Australia, deemed neutral ground by the hastily formed United Earth Council. As the appointed day dawned, millions around the world watched breathlessly on screens of every size. Elena stood among a select group of scientists and dignitaries, her heart pounding as a shimmering light appeared in the sky. The Astrian ship was a marvel of engineering, a sleek silver craft that seemed to defy the laws of physics as it descended silently to the ground. As a hatch opened and a ramp extended, Elena held her breath. The aliens that emerged were both familiar and utterly foreign. Bipedal and roughly humanoid in shape, their skin shimmered with an iridescent quality that seemed to shift colors in the sunlight. Large, almond-shaped eyes dominated their faces, reflecting an intelligence that seemed to pierce the soul. "Greetings, people of Earth," the lead Astrian said, its voice resonating with a musical quality that sent shivers down Elena's spine. "We come in friendship and with open hearts." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, scientific exchanges, and cultural celebrations. The Astrians shared tantalizing glimpses of their advanced technology: clean energy sources, medical breakthroughs, and hints of faster-than-light travel. Earth's leaders, eager to secure these marvels for their nations, competed for the aliens' favor. But Elena's unease never faded. If anything, it grew stronger as she observed the Astrians up close. There was something off about their behavior, subtle inconsistencies that nagged at her analytical mind. It was during a late-night research session that Elena stumbled upon the truth. Buried deep in the Astrians' transmitted data was a coded message, one they clearly never intended humans to find. With trembling hands, she began to decrypt it. As the true meaning of the message became clear, Alina felt the blood drain from her face. The Estrenes weren't saviors or peaceful explorers. They were advanced scouts for an invasion force, sent to assess Earth's defenses and lull humanity into a false sense of security. Their tale of a grand cosmic community was a lie. Their offers of technological salvation, a trap, and humanity, in its eagerness to believe, had walked right into it. Alina's mind raced. She had to warn someone, had to stop this before it was too late. But as she reached for her phone, a shadow fell across her desk. My, Dr. Rodriguez, came the musical voice of an Estrene. You've been quite the busy little human, haven't you? Alina spun around, her heart in her throat. The alien's eyes, once seemingly full of wisdom and benevolence, now gleamed with cold calculation. It's such a pity, the Estrene continued, advancing slowly. We had hoped to keep up this charade a bit longer. But I suppose the time for subtlety has passed. Outside, the night sky erupted with light once more. But this time, it wasn't a celestial show. Massive ships, far larger than the diplomatic vessel, began to descend through Earth's atmosphere. The invasion had begun, and humanity was woefully unprepared. As alarms began to blare and chaos erupted outside her lab, Alina realized with a sinking heart that this was only the beginning. The true test of humanity's resilience and ingenuity lay ahead, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The cosmic crucible had been ignited, and Earth would never be the same. The invasion begins. The world erupted into chaos as the true nature of the Estrene presence became horrifyingly clear. Massive warships, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metallic sheen, descended upon Earth's major cities with terrifying precision. The peace and promise of interstellar cooperation shattered like glass, replaced by the harsh reality of an alien invasion. Dr. Alina Rodriguez, her heart pounding and mind racing, fled her lab as the first explosions rocked the research facility. The Estrene who had confronted her lay unconscious on the floor, felled by a desperate swing of her laptop. She clutched the hard drive containing the decrypted invasion plans to her chest like a lifeline. I have to warn someone, she gasped, sprinting down corridors filled with panicked researchers and security personnel. Anyone who can fight back. But as she emerged into the Australian night, it became clear that warning might already be too late. The sky was alight with energy weapons and human aircraft falling in flames. The Estrene ships, once marveled at for their sleek design, now loomed as harbingers of destruction. In New York, the Statue of Liberty's torch was extinguished by a precision strike, plunging the city into darkness. London's Thames barrier crumpled under an invisible force, flooding parts of the city. Beijing's sprawling metropolis became a maze of crumbling skyscrapers and fleeing civilians. Humanity's military forces, caught completely off guard, scrambled to mount a defense. Fighter jets took to the skies, only to be swatted down by energy beams that seemed to bend the very fabric of space. Tank columns rumbled through city streets, their shells harmlessly impacting against Estrene force fields. In orbit, the International Space Station became an unwilling vantage point for the unfolding catastrophe. Commander Yuki Tanaka, Alina's former colleague, watched in horror as swaths of the planet went dark. "This can't be happening," she whispered, tears floating in the zero-gravity environment. "We trusted them." But amidst the devastation, pockets of resistance began to form. In the ruins of Washington, D.C., Marine Corps Colonel Jackson Carter rallied surviving troops and civilians alike. "They may have the tech," he growled, his face illuminated by the glow of burning buildings, "but we've got something they don't, the human spirit. And we will never surrender our home." Similar scenes played out across the globe. In the mountains of Switzerland, a group of engineers and soldiers fortified CERN's particle accelerator complex, determined to unlock its potential as a weapon. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, indigenous tribes with intimate knowledge of the land began a guerrilla campaign against Estrene scout parties. Alina, having commandeered a battered jeep, raced across the Australian outback. Her destination, Uluru, the sacred rock formation that had become an impromptu command center for what remained of the Australian military. As she drove, dodging debris and the occasional energy blast from patrolling Austrian craft, Alina's mind whirled with the implications of what she'd discovered. The invasion plans hinted at a larger Austrian force waiting just beyond the solar system. Earth's fall was meant to be swift, a stepping stone to further conquest. But why? Alina muttered, swerving to avoid a crater in the road. Why go to all this trouble of deception? Why not just attack outright? The answer, she realized with a chill, must lie in some vulnerability the Austrians possessed, something that made a prolonged conflict undesirable for them. If she could figure out what that was, humanity might stand a chance. At Uluru, Alina found a hive of frantic activity. Military personnel from a dozen nations huddled around makeshift comm stations, coordinating what resistance they could. Scientists pored over salvaged Austrian technology, desperate for any advantage. "Dr. Rodriguez," a voice called out. Alina turned to see General Fatima Nasser, her uniform dusty and torn, but her eyes blazing with determination. "We heard about the attack on the research facility. Thank God you made it." Alina quickly briefed the general on her discoveries, laying out the true scope of the Austrian threat. Fatima's face grew grim as she absorbed the information. "So we're not just fighting the forces here," she said, "but a potential reinforcement that could arrive at any time. Bloody hell." But as they discussed strategy, an alert came in from one of the few remaining satellite uplinks. A massive Austrian ship, larger than any seen so far, was descending towards the North Pole. What on earth are they doing up there? Fatima wondered. Alina's eyes widened as pieces began to fall into place. "The magnetic field," she breathed. "They must be trying to disrupt Earth's magnetic field. That's why they needed us weakened first. Their technology, their very biology, might be vulnerable to certain frequencies." It was a slim hope, but it was something. As Fatima barked orders to redirect resources towards this new threat, Alina found herself swept up in a whirlwind of activity. Scientists and soldiers alike looked to her for guidance, her understanding of Austrian language and technology suddenly more vital than ever. But even as humanity began to rally, the situation grew more dire. Reports flooded in of Austrian ground forces deploying strange devices in conquered territories. Civilians exposed to them emerged changed, their minds seemingly bent to the alien will. "They're not just invading," Alina realized with horror. "They're terraforming, reshaping our world and our people to suit their needs." The race against time had become even more urgent. Humanity needed a breakthrough, and fast. As Alina pored over the data, pushing her mind to its limits, she couldn't help but think of all that had been lost, all that was still at stake. The Austrians had underestimated humanity once, believing their deception would pave the way for an easy conquest. Now, with their true colors revealed, they were learning just how tenacious humans could be. But would determination alone be enough to turn the tide? As the first light of dawn broke over Uluru, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Alina allowed herself a moment of grim reflection. The world had changed irrevocably in just a few short days, but one thing remained constant: the human drive to survive, to protect what they loved, to rage against the dying of the light. The invasion had begun, but humanity's story was far from over. The next chapter would be written in sweat, blood, and the indomitable spirit of a species with its back against the wall. Little did Alina know, the key to humanity's survival lay not just in the stars above, but deep beneath her feet, in the very heart of the planet they all called home. The turning point. The war for Earth had raged for months, a desperate struggle that pushed humanity to its limits. Cities lay in ruins, millions were displaced or under Austrian control, and the remnants of Earth's military forces fought a grueling guerrilla war against a technologically superior foe. Yet amidst the chaos and destruction, the human spirit refused to be extinguished. At Uluru, now the heart of the global resistance, Dr. Alina Rodriguez worked tirelessly with a team of international scientists. Their goal: to unravel the secrets of Estrene technology and find a way to turn the tide of war. "There has to be something we're missing," Elena muttered, her eyes bloodshot from endless hours of study. She stood before a holographic display of Earth, red zones marking Estrene-controlled territories. Their obsession with the magnetic poles, the way their tech interacts with our planet's field. It's all connected. As if in answer to her frustration, an alert blared through the command center. General Fatima Nasser burst in, her face a mix of excitement and disbelief. "Elena, you need to see this," she said, pulling up a video feed on the main screen. The footage, shaky and distorted, showed an Estrene ground unit advancing on a small town in the Ural Mountains. Suddenly, the alien soldiers began to convulse, their shimmering skin turning dull. Within moments, they collapsed, lifeless. "What in the world?" Elena breathed, leaning in closer. "It gets better," Fatima said, a grim smile on her face. She switched to another feed, this one showing an Estrene ship listing in the air before crashing into a mountainside. Elena's mind raced. The location, it's right above an old Soviet magnetite mine. The ore must be interfering with their biology somehow. It was the breakthrough they had been waiting for. The Estrenes, for all their advanced technology, had a critical weakness. Their bodies and machines were hypersensitive to certain magnetic frequencies. Earth's natural magnetic field had been tolerable, but concentrated or altered fields could be deadly to them. The revelation sparked a flurry of activity. Around the world, resistance cells began raiding old mines and industrial sites for magnetite and other magnetic materials. Engineers worked around the clock to develop weapons that could generate targeted magnetic pulses. But even as hope bloomed, the Estrenes struck back with renewed ferocity. They seemed to realize their vulnerability had been discovered, and they were determined to crush humanity before it could be fully exploited. In orbit, Commander Yuki Tanaka and her crew aboard the makeshift space station Phoenix, cobbled together from the remains of the ISS and several satellites, watched in horror as a massive Estrene vessel positioned itself between Earth and the Sun. "They're going to block out the Sun," Yuki realized, her blood running cold. "They're trying to force our surrender through a nuclear winter." On the ground, the effects were immediate and devastating. Temperatures plummeted, crops withered, and panic spread. The Estrene ultimatum was clear: surrender or watch your world die slowly. It was in this darkest hour that humanity's ingenuity and resilience truly shone. In underground bunkers and hidden labs, scientists and engineers worked feverishly to develop a daring plan. "If we can't go around their ship, we'll go through it," declared Dr. Kwesi Osai, a brilliant Ghanaian physicist. His team had been working on adapting Estrene propulsion technology for human use. "We'll use their own tech against them, create a magnetic battering ram that can punch a hole right through their solar shield." The plan was audacious, borderline insane, but with options running out and time against them. The global resistance threw everything they had into making it work. As preparations for the desperate mission continued, Elena found herself working closely with an unlikely ally, a captured Estrene scientist named Zartef. The alien, disillusioned with its species' brutal conquest, had defected to the human side. "Your planet's core," Zartef explained, its melodious voice tinged with what Elena had learned to recognize as awe. "It's unique in all our travels. The interplay between the molten iron and the Coriolis effect. It creates magnetic harmonics we've never encountered before." This information was the missing piece Elena had been searching for. Earth's magnetic field wasn't just a vulnerability for the Estrenes. Properly harnessed, it could be humanity's greatest weapon. As the pieces of the plan fell into place, a small team was assembled for the critical mission. Elena, to her surprise, found herself selected to join the crew of the hastily retrofitted ship they called the Magnetar. "Your knowledge of Estrene language and tech makes you essential," Fatima told her. "Besides, this was your discovery. You've earned the right to see it through." The night before launch, Elena stood outside the Uluru base, gazing up at the stars obscured by the Astrian solar shield. The weight of what they were about to attempt pressed down on her. If they failed, it could mean the end of humanity. A hand on her shoulder startled her from her reverie. It was Colonel Jackson Carter, the Marine who had become one of the Resistance's most effective field commanders. "Penny for your thoughts, Doc?" he asked, his voice gruff but kind. Alina sighed. "I'm scared, Jackson. Not just of dying, but of failing. Of letting everyone down." Jackson nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Fear's normal. Hell, it's healthy. Keeps you sharp, but remember, every human on this planet is behind you. Our hopes, our dreams, our very will to survive. It's all flying with you tomorrow." His words bolstered her resolve. As dawn broke on launch day, Alina boarded the Magnetar with a sense of grim determination. The ship, a hybrid of human and Astrian technology, hummed with potential energy. As the countdown reached 0 and the Magnetar roared to life, Alina felt the eyes of the world upon them. They carried the hopes and dreams of an entire species, the accumulated weight of human history and potential. The ship broke atmosphere, streaking towards the massive Astrian vessel that blotted out the sun. As they approached, Alina keyed in the activation sequence for their magnetic weapon, her heart pounding in her ears. "For Earth," she whispered, and pressed the button. A blinding light erupted from the Magnetar, a concentrated beam of magnetic energy that lanced towards the Astrian ship. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash visible across half the planet, a hole opened in the massive alien vessel. As warnings flashed across her console and the ship shuddered around her, Alina closed her eyes. They had given humanity a fighting chance. Now, it was up to those on Earth to seize this moment, to turn the tide once and for all. The Magnetar plunged into the fiery heart of the dying Astrian ship, carrying its brave crew into legend. And on Earth, as the light of their sun returned, humanity rose with renewed vigor, ready to reclaim their world. The turning point had arrived. The cosmic crucible burned hotter than ever. And humanity, tempered by fire and hardship, was ready to show the universe what they were truly capable of. Humanity strikes back. The destruction of the Astrian solar shield was a pivotal moment in Earth's history. As the debris of the massive alien vessel rained down through the atmosphere, creating spectacular light shows across the globe, humanity emerged from the darkness with a newfound sense of purpose and hope. Dr. Elena Rodriguez and the crew of the Magnetar were hailed as heroes, their sacrifice igniting a fire in the hearts of resistance fighters worldwide. Their success proved that the Astrians were not invincible, and humanity now had the key to fighting back effectively. In the aftermath of the shield's destruction, the global resistance, once scattered and desperate, coalesced into a unified force. The makeshift command center at Uluru, dubbed Phoenix Base, became the heart of humanity's counteroffensive. General Fatima Nasser stood before a holographic display of Earth, her eyes gleaming with determination. "The Astrians are in disarray," she announced to the assembled leaders. "Their command structure is disrupted, and they're vulnerable to our new magnetic weapons. It's time to take back our world." The plan that unfolded was audacious in its scope and creativity. Drawing inspiration from Alina's discoveries and the Magnetar's success, engineers and scientists worked around the clock to develop a range of magnetic-based weapons and defenses. In the plains of Kansas, massive electromagnets were constructed from salvaged power plants and repurposed Astrian tech. These magna cannons could fire concentrated pulses of magnetic energy capable of downing Astrian ships or disrupting their ground forces over vast distances. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, a network of magnetite-infused camouflage netting was developed, allowing resistance fighters to move undetected by Astrian sensors. This technology, combined with the local tribe's knowledge of the terrain, turned the dense jungle into an impenetrable fortress and a staging ground for guerrilla operations across South America. In the underwater caves of Yucatan, Mexico, marine biologists and naval engineers collaborated on Project Leviathan, a fleet of magnetically shielded submarines that could strike extreme positions from the world's oceans with impunity. As these projects and countless others like them came to fruition, humanity prepared for its greatest coordinated offensive yet. The operation was codenamed Earthrise, a fitting name for humanity's attempt to reclaim their home. The offensive began at dawn, simultaneously across all corners of the globe. In Europe, resistance fighters emerged from the catacombs of Paris, wielding magnetic pulse rifles that cut through estrine armor like butter. The Eiffel Tower, long since converted into an estrine command post, toppled under the onslaught, a symbolic victory that was broadcast around the world. In the skies over North America, squadrons of fighters retrofitted with magnetic shielding engaged in dogfights with estrine craft. The humans' newfound ability to withstand the aliens' energy weapons, combined with their superior maneuverability, turned the tide of aerial combat. Colonel Jackson Carter led a daring assault on the estrine stronghold in what was once Washington, D.C. As his forces approached the National Mall, they were met with fierce resistance. But the humans had a surprise of their own. Now, Jackson bellowed into his comm unit. At his signal, the ground beneath the estrine defenders erupted. From hidden tunnels emerged a swarm of autonomous drones, each equipped with a miniature magnetic pulse generator. The drones swarmed the alien forces, disrupting their shields and communications, allowing Jackson's troops to advance. As the battle raged around the ruins of the Lincoln Memorial, Jackson couldn't help but feel a sense of poetic justice. 7 light-years ago, he quipped to his second-in-command, "These bastards picked the wrong planet to invade." Across the Pacific, the Leviathan submarines made their presence known. Rising from the depths near the estrine-controlled islands of Japan, they unleashed a barrage of magnetically guided torpedoes. The projectiles sought out the unique magnetic signatures of estrine ships, punching through their hulls with deadly accuracy. In orbit, the space station Phoenix, under the command of Yuki Tanaka, played a crucial role. Using salvaged estrine communication tech, they'd broadcast a continuous magnetic interference pattern, disrupting the invaders' ability to coordinate their forces globally. "Elena would be proud," Yuki murmured, watching the estrine ships falling back in disarray. "We're turning their own strengths against them." But the estrines were far from defeated. As they recovered from the initial shock of humanity's counteroffensive, they began to adapt. In the ruins of Shanghai, they deployed massive energy shields to deflect the magnetic attacks. In the African Sahara, they used the vast open spaces to gather their forces, preparing for a massive counterattack. The war entered a new phase, one of rapidly evolving tactics and technologies. Both sides raced to outmaneuver the other, leading to battles that would have been unimaginable just months before. In the Himalayas, estrine and human forces clashed on the slopes of Mount Everest, their energy beams and magnetic pulses lighting up the snow-capped peaks. The mountain's natural magnetic properties turned the battlefield into a chaotic maelstrom, with advantage shifting moment by moment. In Australia's outback, estrine terraforming machines the size of small cities lumbered across the desert, attempting to alter the very magnetic field of the Earth. They were met by a makeshift army of magnetic hover tanks, cobbled together from mining equipment and estrine salvage. As the conflict raged, it became clear that this was more than just a war for territory. It was a battle for the very essence of Earth itself, with the planet's magnetic nature as both the prize and the weapon. In the depths of Phoenix Base, scientists led by Dr. Kwesi Osei made a startling discovery. The constant magnetic upheaval caused by the war was having an unexpected effect on Earth's core. "The outer core is becoming more agitated," Kwesi explained to a concerned General Nasser. "If this continues, it could lead to a polar shift or worse, destabilize the entire planetary magnetic field." The implications were staggering. Without its magnetic field, Earth would be vulnerable to solar radiation, potentially rendering the planet uninhabitable for both humans and estrines alike. This revelation added a new urgency to the conflict. Humanity wasn't just fighting for victory now, but for the very survival of their world. The need to end the war quickly became paramount. As reports flooded in from battlefronts across the globe, victories and losses, heroic stands, and narrow escapes, the leaders at Phoenix Base grappled with an impossible question. How do you win a war when the battlefield itself is at risk of destruction? The answer, they realized, might lie not on Earth, but in the stars above. If humanity could take the fight to the Astrine homeworld, they might be able to force a conclusion to the conflict before it was too late. But such a mission would require technology far beyond what humanity currently possessed. They would need to capture intact Astrine ships, reverse engineer their FTL drives, and mount an expedition into unknown space. As plans for this audacious mission began to take shape, the war on Earth continued to rage. Humanity had risen from the ashes of near defeat, proving their resilience and adaptability. But the greatest test still lay ahead. The stars, once a source of wonder and possibility, now represented humanity's ultimate challenge. The next phase of the war would be fought not just for Earth, but for humanity's place in the cosmos. As the sun set on another day of fierce battle, General Nasser gazed up at the sky, where the first stars were becoming visible. Among them, she knew, was the Astrine homeworld, and soon humanity would be knocking on their door. The cosmic crucible burned hotter than ever, forging the destiny of two species and the fate of a planet. The final act of this interstellar drama was about to begin, and its outcome would echo across the galaxy for eons to come. The cosmic reckoning. The war for Earth had reached a stalemate. Humanity's ingenuity and newfound mastery of magnetic weapons had halted the Astrine advance, but the alien invaders still held significant portions of the planet. Meanwhile, the constant magnetic upheaval threatened to destabilize Earth's core, putting both species at risk. It was clear that a decisive action was needed to end the conflict before it was too late. Operation Starhammer, humanity's audacious plan to take the fight to the Astrine homeworld, moved from concept to reality with breathtaking speed. At shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt, Earth's finest engineers worked tirelessly to retrofit captured Astrine vessels with human technology and magnetic shielding. The crew for this mission was handpicked from the best Earth had to offer. Colonel Jackson Carter, the battle-hardened Marine who had led the recapture of Washington, D.C., was selected to command the military aspect of the operation. Dr. Kwesi Osai, whose brilliant insights into magnetic field manipulation had been crucial to humanity's resurgence, would lead the scientific team. And to everyone's surprise, a familiar face joined the crew at the last moment. Commander Yuki Tanaka, who had guided the Phoenix space station through countless battles, insisted on being part of this final push. As the fleet of hybrid ships prepared to depart, General Fatima Nasser addressed the crew from Phoenix Base. "You carry with you the hopes and dreams of every human on Earth," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "But remember, this isn't just about victory. It's about securing a future where both our species can coexist. The universe is vast enough for all of us, if we can find a way to peace." With a flash of light that momentarily outshone the sun, the human fleet engaged their FTL drives, venturing into the unknown depths of space. The journey to the Astrine homeworld was fraught with danger. Navigating unfamiliar star systems, the fleet had to evade Astrine patrols and overcome the physiological challenges of long-term space travel. But nothing could have prepared them for the sight that greeted them as they dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Astrine system. A massive space station, easily dwarfing anything humanity had ever constructed, orbited a blue-green world that pulsed with artificial energy. "My God," Yuki breathed, staring at the tactical display. "Their entire planet is one giant magnetic generator." Kwesi's eyes widened in realization. That's why they needed Earth. They're burning out their own world's magnetic field. They want to terraform our planet as a replacement. Before the human fleet could react, they were surrounded by Astrine warships. It seemed their arrival hadn't gone unnoticed. As energy weapons powered up and targeting systems locked on, Jackson made a decision that would alter the course of history. "This is Colonel Jackson Carter of Earth," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We didn't come here to fight. We came to talk." For a tense moment, silence reigned. Then a melodious voice responded. "The supreme leader of the Astrine Collective. You have journeyed far, humans. We will hear you." What followed was the most important diplomatic meeting in human history, conducted aboard the neutral ground of the massive Astrine space station. Jackson, Queasy, and Yuki found themselves face to face with the Astrine leadership, finally able to communicate without the fog of war clouding their judgment. The truth, when it emerged, was both shocking and tragic. The Astrine's homeworld was dying, its magnetic field collapsing due to centuries of overexploitation. Their invasion of Earth had been an act of desperation, a last-ditch effort to save their species from extinction. "We are not so different, you and I," the Astrine leader said, its iridescent skin shimmering with emotion. "We both fight for the survival of our people." Queasy, his scientific mind racing, saw an opportunity. "What if we could help you restore your world's magnetic field?" he proposed. "The same techniques we use to weaponize magnetism could be adapted to heal your planet." The idea sparked intense debate among both humans and Astrines. Trust was in short supply after years of brutal conflict. But as discussions continued, a new possibility emerged. A future where both species could benefit from cooperation rather than conflict. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the war ground to a halt as news of the diplomatic talks spread. In the ruins of cities and the scorched battlefields, humans and Astrines alike laid down their weapons, daring to hope for peace. The negotiations were far from easy. Centuries of Astrine expansionism clashed with humanity's fierce desire for independence. But slowly, painfully, a framework for coexistence began to take shape. Earth would help the Astrines restore their homeworld's magnetic field, while the Astrines would share their advanced technology, allowing humanity to take its rightful place among the stars. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth with the historic agreement, Yuki found herself standing alone on an observation deck, gazing at the blue marble of the Astrine homeworld. An Astrine scientist named Zarleth joined her, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the starlight. "Your Dr. Rodriguez was right, you know," Zarleth said softly, "about Earth's unique magnetic properties. Your world truly is special in the cosmos." Yuki nodded, thinking of Elena's sacrifice. "Then we'll have to work together to preserve it, won't we? For both our sakes." As the human fleet began its long journey home, news of the peace agreement spread across the galaxy. The cosmic crucible had forged not just one species, but two, burning away hatred and fear to reveal a shared hope for the future. On Earth, the process of rebuilding began. Cities rose from the ashes, incorporating both human and Astrine designs. The scars of war slowly faded, replaced by the fruits of cooperation. Magnetic terraforming technology, once used for destruction, now helped to heal the planet's wounds. In the decades that followed, humanity took its first true steps into the galactic community. Joint human-Astrine expeditions explored the far reaches of space, making discoveries that pushed the boundaries of science and philosophy. The unique combination of human creativity and Astrine technology ushered in a new golden age of exploration and innovation. But perhaps the most profound change was in how both species viewed themselves and their place in the universe. The war had taught them the cost of aggression and the value of empathy. They had stared into the abyss of extinction and emerged stronger, wiser, and more united. As the first joint colony ship, crewed by both humans and Astrines, prepared to embark on a mission to a distant star system, General Fatima Nasser, now Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, gave a speech that captured the spirit of this new era. "We set out into the cosmos not as conquerors, but as explorers and peacekeepers," she declared, her voice carrying to every corner of Earth and beyond. "The stars are not our battlefield, but our shared heritage. Together, We will write a new chapter in the cosmic story, one of harmony, discovery, and boundless possibility. As the colony ship engaged its FTL drive, disappearing in a flash of light, humans and Astrians alike looked to the stars with a shared sense of wonder and purpose. The cosmic crucible had tested them, nearly broken them, but ultimately transformed them. And now, forged in the fires of conflict and tempered by peace, they were ready to face whatever challenges the universe might hold. The journey that had begun with a mysterious signal from the depths of space had led humanity to this moment, standing on the threshold of a future brighter than they had ever dared to imagine. As Earth and the Astrian homeworld spun in their cosmic dance, their magnetic fields harmonizing across the vast distances of space, it was clear that the greatest adventures still lay ahead. The cosmic crucible had done its work, and the universe would never be the same.